Welcome back to Season 3 of Snubs and Dubs, where we're talking about the Snubs and Dubs of the 74th Academy Award for Best Picture. I'm your host, Kyle Tobiasen, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Jason Miller. Jason, how you doing today?
Kyle, I'm doing pretty good. The adrenaline's running a little bit. As you know, I got a new vehicle. Well, new to me.
Yes.
It is used. However, it has a lot more features my last car didn't, like an airbag light that's turned off. And the panel over top of my gas cap is closed.
Wow.
My last car that was broken led to me saying, thanks, I know, to a lot of people driving by letting me know that it was broken. I appreciate the good Samaritans out there, but I needed to just get a sign that I could show in the window saying, thanks, I know, disappointed face. But the adrenaline's pumping because on my way here, I already almost got in a collision with the new vehicle.
Oh, no.
I was going down a street. And a taxi wanted to be in the same street that I was on and seemingly was not particularly disturbed by the fact that I was coming down that street that he wanted to be on. So he pulled out into traffic and I kind of defaulted back to what I would have had to do in my old car, which was just swerve around, not realizing that this car probably has the brakes to just stop in time. So I did a little swerve into the other lane, but no one was coming, so it was fine.
That's good.
But now I need to get used to the fact that my brakes, they work pretty good and I can use them for things.
Can actually brake.
I can actually brake. Yeah, without braking.
It does feel like sometimes the universe knows when you have a new car.
Yeah.
Like when I got my car, when it was brand new too, within the first 2 weeks, somebody dented the door.
Of course.
Like,
yeah.
And it was obvious because they had like a blue car and there was blue paint left on my car. I was like, fucking hell.
Unbelievable. Yeah, but how are you doing, Kyle?
I'm good. I'm a little bit sad because I don't know if you saw, but Robbie Coltrane died today.
I did see that, and that's very sad.
Yeah, 72 years old. Most well known for obviously his role as Hagrid. But he gave us work that will immortalize him. He was great and cheered us up. So it's just sad to lose him.
Yep. Thank you for your contributions, Robbie Coltrane. Rest in peace, big boy.
Also, I wanted to save my reputation a little bit. So I have a programming note from last episode. So I just wanted to clear up that James Cameron. So I did mention that he made no money off of Titanic. So while the fact is true that he waived his $8 million director's fee, that I was right on. This was because the movie went over budget and he waived it in favor of back end pay. This ultimately amounted to a $650 million payday.
Oh my Lord. That was the most fortunate over budgeting that's ever happened.
Yes. So yeah, he did waive his fee just like Todd Field for In the Bedroom, but James Cameron actually made money.
Yeah, one of those did significantly better with like merch and other things.
Yeah. And James Cameron actually won Oscars too, unlike Todd Field.
In the Bedroom, famously not making $1 billion as a movie.
Yes. But did you watch anything the last week?
I did watch a couple things. One was on a whim. I kind of wanted to just watch a scary movie. So I was going through a couple different services and I ended up settling on The Grudge, the 2002, I believe, English remaking of it.
And?
It's not great.
Yeah. I actually haven't seen that one either because it came out in that era where I was like not going to watch it or wasn't allowed to watch it anyway.
Yeah,
so yeah, I totally missed that one and I don't think I'll ever watch it.
No,
probably.
I'm curious to see what the original will be like in Japanese. There's probably some kind of subs or dubs or snubs and dubs. I don't really know, but it can't be worse. It was an unappealing horror movie. Yeah. Also started watching Halloween Nailed It on Netflix, the cooking show.
I thought it was like, what spinoff of Halloween is this? Like Halloween ends, Halloween Nailed It? Like
Halloween cooking show, Halloween home repair show.
It's just a silent Michael Myers with his machete chopping shit up.
Michael Myers, you see the hockey mask, it pans out. He's actually just playing hockey. It's the Mighty Ducks 7, Jason's Return. Or not Jason, god damn it.
You were right, Jason was the hockey mask.
Yes.
Michael has the white face.
Yeah. So Nailed It Halloween. So far, none of the episodes have been Halloween-y other than they're wearing Halloween costumes and the set notably decorated for Halloween, but they're all just riffing off different shows that are on Netflix right now to get like cross promotion. So it's like in the Halloween episodes, it's all about The Witcher and Cobra Kai.
Oh, okay. I was like, The Witcher, you can maybe stretch because it's kind of got that spooky fantasy vibe, but like Cobra Kai? I don't know.
Yeah. What's fun was they pulled cast from Cobra Kai for the Nailed It episode, and they do not have the poll to get people from the Witcher series on it. So it was completely devoid of anyone related to The Witcher, but just themed after it.
Yeah.
But that's what I've been watching. I love Nailed It, even if that's not remotely close to what the theme should be. Nicole Byers kills it every time. It's a great, funny little baking show.
You're surprisingly more into baking shows than I would have figured.
I goddamn love baking shows, especially if it's a competition. I want people's dreams to be made or broken while they're trying to prepare a delightful cake for the judges.
Oh, good. Yeah, I didn't really do much other watching, but She-Hulk finished, so I can sit back and talk about it in its full scope. The finale was okay. It made some choices that like were very interesting and kind of in line with the show being kind of meta, and she breaks the fourth wall because it kind of gets to the point. It's kind of slight spoilers. If you weren't going to watch She-Hulk, you probably haven't. But, you know, if you don't want to know, you don't want to know. Where like it gets to the point where her show is kind of like leading up to being a typical Marvel ending. And her being the character that kind of breaks the fourth wall, she's just like, no, fuck this. And like exits her show and goes into the Marvel lot and argues with the creative team of her show to get a different ending.
That could be fun depending on execution. I don't hate that.
So actually it was pretty fun and I liked it. The show as a whole, I think I liked a lot more than most. There's definitely some real haters out there, and there's a lot of people that are just kind of in the middle. And obviously there's people that really love it too. So I think it's just kind of one of the typical Marvel shows of this era where you either kind of like love it, hate it, or in the middle. That makes, that's literally every thing
I'm trying
of the spectrum.
Most shows do have people who like, dislike, and are in the middle of it. So this is really bringing a new element to that field.
Oh, man. Yeah. I have a podcast where I talk about movies and stuff.
This movie does. Some loved it. Some hated it. I'm somewhere in the middle. End of episode. This has been Monsters Ball.
Yeah. I just found it a lot funnier than most of the shows have been lately. And they seem to be ahead of the response to the show on its own. Like every episode would come out and they would know how people had reacted the previous episode, which is weird because obviously these shows are made crazy in advance and have all the CG work done afterwards. So for them to have the foresight in the writing to know how some of the incel fragile men would respond to this type of show was really hilarious. But overall, I think it's good. Kind of largely forgettable, though.
Yeah, that is funny how predictable the outrage is going to be about it. It's like, okay, we have a show with a woman lead on it. You can assume there will be millions of angry people about that fact by episode 2. So you can start responding to that and it's going to happen. You're not really taking a risk on that.
Yeah. And a lot of people were still watching out of spite because they knew Daredevil was going to show up. And a lot of people love Daredevil, me included. And I really enjoyed his appearance in the show, but he kind of fit into the show. Whereas like his other, like the shows that he's had has been quite serious. Not that it doesn't have like moments of levity, but like he's in a serious show, but now he's in like a comedy show. And so you kind of adjust to that. And I saw online that some people were like, hated this version of the character, but like, come on, it's fun.
It's fun. It's silly.
Daredevil and She-Hulk hook up.
Yeah.
Like, what more do you want?
God, I love that. Oh, amazing.
So yeah. Overall, it's fine.
Yeah, excellent. And you know what? If you don't like that, you always have the option of not watching it.
Yeah. I do think it's nice, though. There's been kind of like rumblings going around that they're taking a look at the format that they're doing it and possibly not doing so many series and doing more like special presentations like they did with Werewolf by Night, which at 50 minutes and just like one thing on its own contained, I would love that. Like,
I would be so happy. I'd start watching Marvel again.
Yeah, we don't need 6 hours. Most origin stories for these characters are only like 2 hours. So like there's not enough there for a lot of these characters, and they're taking a step back and maybe realizing that. So hopefully better things.
Good on them for finally reacting to that.
Yeah. But we also both watched the movie we're talking about this episode. Of course, season 3 of Snubs and Dubs is covering the films from the year 2001. And for episode 11, we are talking about Monsters Ball. Had you heard of this before?
I've never heard about this before. And that matched with the title being Monsters Ball.
Yeah.
And it almost being Halloween. I had the wrong idea about what this movie was going to be.
Yeah.
And before I watched it, I was out at a bar with some friends having some beer tastings. And, I hit the beer pretty good. I was bussing home. I didn't care. So I was in a pretty happy-go-lucky mood thinking I was going to watch a fun movie, probably relating to like some kind of ball, some gala held by monsters. Oh, no. I did not watch that movie. Kyle, have you ever heard about it or seen it before?
I had heard the name before, but for some reason, I think I got this and $1 Million Baby mixed up because I thought this was like a Halle Berry is a boxer movie. And
we had no idea what we were doing this week. We were blind.
So neither of us had seen it before, but
nope.
I think this one had to be included because, as you'll later discuss, this was nominated for some awards. So kind of a rite of passage for this year. But if you were interested in Monsters Ball, I've included links to the physical media related to it in the show notes. If you buy through that link, it'll help out our show. Or if you have any other Amazon shopping to do, follow the general link to help out our show in the process. Reminder that this is going to be a spoiler-filled conversation, so if you haven't seen Monsters Ball yet, or if you think it is a spooky movie or a fighting movie, and you want to check it out, go ahead and do so. I've also included time codes in the show notes so you can skip around to your heart's desire. But without further ado, let's get into it.
Monsters Ball is a 2001 American drama directed by Marc Forster, written by Milo Attica and Will Rockos. This is starring Halle Berry as Leticia Musgrove, Billy Bob Thornton, returning beloved actor of the Snubs and Dubs podcast. He is Hank Grotowski. Heath Ledger is Sonny Grotowski. Peter Boyle is Buck Grotowski. And Diddy is Lawrence Musgrave. I don't know if he still goes by Diddy. He changes that very often. But at least at some point between this movie being made and now, he was Diddy. Sometimes P. Diddy. Sometimes others. There's a lot of names. But in this, he was Lawrence Musgrave. This has a runtime of 111 minutes and was released on December 26, 2001. Kyle, what do you think about Monsters Ball?
We kind of had two back-to-back actors movies in a sense, because this again was a lot of just like a Halle Berry show.
Yeah.
And I mean, she really put everything into it and it was amazing in it. And obviously Billy Bob Thornton is kind of the main character, but like he's kind of reserved in it. Overall, I thought it was fine. I kind of enjoyed it on this level that I liked In the Bedroom and Gosford Park, except maybe a little bit more because I just found I was a little bit more engaged, but it was also the type of movie that I'm checking my phone during.
Yeah, and that's probably not a big deal.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm mixed on it. There were some things I liked. I think Halle Berry did a very good job with what she was given.
Yeah.
And I think at times she was fighting a pretty weak screenplay.
Yeah.
I thought Billy Bob Thornton was perfectly fine to even good in this. I had no issues with his performance, but I didn't think it was like groundbreaking in any way.
It was kind of a Billy Bob Thornton performance if you had seen him in anything other than Sling Blade.
Yeah.
Because like that's obviously a kind of an outside performance. This is his usual shtick.
Yeah. I'd say overall, nothing of the screenplay stuck out to me as good.
Yeah.
There were some parts I liked. Like there was a montage of like prisoners doing different things when I think when it's Hank's on his way to hand in his badge or he had just finished or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was a really nice montage. The score was very good behind it. Oh, it was when he was on his way to the diner for the first time.
Right.
Yeah. And like there are parts of this movie that I think are really well constructed. I just didn't really care for the screenplay for a number of areas.
Yeah. And this movie does actually have an interesting parallel. I'll get into it in a little bit once we talk about the plot, but two In the Bedroom, very comparable in terms of the initial incident of the movie. But should I just get into the plot?
Let's just get into the plot. We can really get into the meat and gristle after.
Well, I'm going to read straight through the plot. If you don't need the refresher or you don't want to know, you can skip right to the discussion by following the time codes in the show notes. But here's Monsters Ball. Hank Grotowski, a widower, and his son, Sonny, are corrections officers in a Georgia prison. They reside with Hank's father, Buck, an ailing, bigoted, retired corrections officer whose wife and Hank's mother committed suicide. Hank has inherited a lot of his father's bigoted traits, while Sonny has not. Hank is also the prison's deputy warden and will oversee the execution of a convicted murderer, Lawrence Musgrove. Musgrove, a talented amateur artist, draws a sketch of Sonny. Sonny is a shy and gentle person and is as kind to Musgrove as his duty permits. The night before the execution, Hank tells Sonny that a monsters ball is being held by the corrections officers, which is a get-together of those who will participate in the execution. The proceedings prove too much for Sonny, who, as he is leading Lawrence to the electric chair, vomits and collapses. Following the execution, Hank confronts Sonny in the prison's bathroom and slaps him for being too soft and ruining the man's last walk. The next morning, Hank attacks Sonny in his bed and orders him to leave the house. Sonny grabs a revolver from under his pillow and holds his father at gunpoint. The confrontation ends in their living room with Hank sitting on the carpet and Sonny in Buck's customary chair. Sonny asks his father if he hates him, and after Hank calmly confirms that he does and always has, Sonny responds with, "Well, I always loved you," and commits suicide by shooting himself in the chest. A devastated Hank buries Sonny in the back garden with an abbreviated funeral because, as Buck comments, he was weak. Hank subsequently resigns as deputy warden, burns his uniform in the backyard, and locks the door to Sonny's room. He purchases a local gas station in an attempt to provide a distraction in his retirement. During the years of Lawrence's imprisonment leading up to his execution, his wife, Leticia, has been struggling while raising their son, Tyrell, who has inherited his father's artistic talent. Overwhelmed, she lashes out at the boy for his obesity, resorting to physical and emotional abuse. Along with her domestic problems, Leticia struggles financially with an eviction notice on her house from her landlord. In desperate need for money, Leticia gets a job at a diner frequented by Hank. Due to lack of maintenance, which Lawrence had suggested, Leticia's car breaks down, and she and Tyrell begin walking back and forth between home and the diner. One rainy night, Leticia and Tyrell are walking down a soaked highway. Hank happens to be driving along and sees Tyrell lying mortally wounded on the ground and Leticia calling for help. After some hesitation, Hank stops and, being told Tyrell was struck by a car, drives them to a hospital. Unfortunately, Tyrell dies from his injuries. At the suggestion of the authorities at the hospital, Hank drives Leticia home. A few days later, Hank gives Leticia another ride home from the diner. They begin talking in the car about their common losses, and she invites him inside. Hank finds out that Leticia is Lawrence's widow, though he does not tell her that he participated in her husband's execution. They drown their grief with alcohol and have sex. Hank takes Sonny's old truck to an auto shop to get it fixed and waxed. He then offers it to Leticia, who reluctantly accepts it after initially protesting. Leticia stops by Hank's home with a present for him, but he is not there. She meets Buck, who insults her and implies that Hank is only involved with her because he enjoys sex with black women. Leticia, offended by the remarks, refuses to interact with Hank. After Hank is made aware of Buck's actions, he finally commits his father to a nursing home. He then renames the gas station Leticia's, saying it was his girlfriend's name when asked. Leticia is evicted from her home, and Hank invites her to move in with him. She later discovers Hank's involvement in her husband's death when she finds the drawings of Sonny and Hank done by Lawrence as he awaited execution. She's disturbed by the revelation, but numb from the loss of her son and recent misfortune, she's waiting for Hank when he returns from town with ice cream. The film ends with the two of them eating ice cream together on the back porch, content with each other as Hank states that he thinks they'll be okay. But that's Monsters Ball.
That was what Monsters Ball actually was, and none of that was what either of us thought it might be going into it. A shocking reversal of what we were prepared for.
Mm-hmm. I mentioned before the plot, but like in the bedroom, this has a very early death. Unlike in the bedroom, though, the trailer doesn't spoil the fact that Heath Ledger commits suicide as the initial incident of the movie. So that took me completely off guard. Mm-hmm. And especially with an actor like Heath Ledger, I thought he was going to be in the movie for a lot longer. And I wasn't quite sure where the drama of it all was going to go. But like when you had that scene of them conflicting, I thought it was going to be more about those two conflicting and then maybe they get in a relationship, but there's some conflicts. But I did not expect that suicide.
No, me neither. And I think it was too early because at that point in the movie, I find I'm just sitting, I'm accepting whatever happens as it happens because I'm still figuring out what's happening in this world. So when he kills himself, it's so immediate that I'm just like, okay, that's part of the development of the movie. Whereas in the bedroom, that was like a shocking twist of my expectations. Mm-hmm. Whereas this, I was still building my expectations. So while it was still surprising that he killed himself, I did know who he was. I hadn't spent any time with him. I hadn't gotten to know the guy. I didn't know if he was good, if he was bad. So it wasn't as impactful. But Hank after that was impactful because he's just a right piece of shit.
Yeah. It's an interesting performance choice, or it might have been a directing choice as well, but like Hank is very blank after a while. Like he doesn't show really any emotion or remorse for the fact that he led his son to do this essentially. Mm-hmm. He's just kind of like no emotion at all, which is clearly what they were trying to do because he's conflicted with his feelings about how he felt about his son and ultimately what it led him to do. And so I think he was kind of like, well, good because he was like soft and weak and that's his father's influence. But on the other side, it is his son. And he's also a widower, I think. I think I read that right. Yeah, he was a widower as well. So like, maybe he's conflicted because that's now like the only piece of his deceased wife. So I don't know. It was interesting when you think about the conflict, but I also found that they just kind of move on really quick.
They do very fast.
Not just him, Leticia as well.
Yes, that was one of my main notes, was that I really didn't like how they wrote Leticia's character because she has a good moment where she's a grieving mother because her son died.
Yeah.
And then the next shift, she's making jokes and laughing, and it's kind of inferred to be the next day.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe, okay, they have her going back to work right away. That makes sense. She's poor. She's like very low class. She like is getting evicted from her house. So I thought they were going to make a comment about how she has to go back to work despite losing her son the day before.
Yeah.
But no, she doesn't care. It's like she forgot that she had a son.
Yeah. And like within the next little while, like she's getting drunk and sleeping with Hank.
Yeah.
Which, and on one hand, could be like a very far emotional response where she was kind of like drowning herself in her pain and leading herself to do those. It's not in a way where she shows remorse for doing it after and was doing it out of being in a state of grieving where she made those rash decisions. It's just kind of like, oh, I slept with this person and I like them and I want to hang out with them more and like, let's move on.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of rushed.
I think they introduced a lot of interesting emotional changes and twists, but then never gave a good resolution to any of them.
Yeah.
Because we never get the movie is about Hank coming to terms with his son. So I will give it a pass that they didn't really resolve that in a way, because maybe that's the point of the movie, whatever. But they did Leticia's character so bad.
Yeah.
She just starts drinking and has sex with Hank out of a pure need to overcompensate for being sad, but then it just works and they have a relationship out of that, and there's no remorse or like realization that that's not an acceptable grieving pattern. It makes it seem like that was actually good for her character to do, was sleep with this guy who has been helping her in her moment of need in this weird kind of power dynamic.
Yeah.
And then she never actually really grieves for her son other than talking about his drawings once. I think it was set up that she didn't care about her husband as much. Like, she was kind of angry at him for not being there. So
yeah,
I don't have an issue with that. But what bothered me the most about the movie overall is I thought it was building up to a giant confrontation between Leticia and Hank when she realizes that Hank was the guy who killed Lawrence.
Yeah.
When she realizes that, she never talks to him about it. They eat ice cream and the movie's over. And I thought that was the whole reason why we're here. And it apparently was not.
Yeah. I also thought that there was going to be a bigger conflict within Hank and his generational beliefs and like his racist traits that he has passed down clearly by his father, who still has those feelings to the day before he's given up to, I almost said given up for adoption, but given up to a home.
In a sense, though, I wouldn't put you too far off.
Till he's put in a home. Because like when Hank hesitated to stop and help Leticia, that was kind of the last bit of him having some racial confliction. And then after that, he's just kind of like all in with Leticia and he doesn't care anymore.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought, like, I was thinking about this later because I had a theory about the plastic spoons. Did you give any thought to the plastic spoons?
Well, I just thought like they're more throwaway. They're more replaceable than an actual spoon. But I didn't understand fully what the particular meaning of it was.
I might be reading into this, but I also felt like this might be a thing that his dad gave him where it's just like an unconscious thing, but he does it so that he doesn't have to use the same spoon that a person of color had used at a diner, especially when people are working there and like they're allowed to eat like everyone else. And so I thought that that was a conscious choice because of that. And that's just kind of carried through his life. And that was kind of one of those traits that always stuck with him.
Yeah.
But that's only on me reading into it afterwards.
Like I think that's a good reading into it. I think that offers an extra development to the characters.
And so like if he was so racist that those were his actions, why is he so willing to just like be with Leticia?
Yeah.
I don't know.
My feeling on this is that after his son dies and he kind of has a realization that he's as shitty to his son as his dad is to him.
Yeah.
So he kind of like tries to grow away from his father being a racist, which you can kind of see in the first scene when the two black children are playing in the yard. It's the dad who initially has a problem with it. And then Hank just kind of carries out his wishes.
Yeah.
So you can tell that a lot of his racism is just coming from being raised by his dad.
Yeah.
So he tries to kind of like go against that and try to open up his mind and realize it doesn't have to be racist like his dad. And that's shown through his relationship with Leticia.
Yeah.
But it doesn't develop into anything. Like it just turns into Hank decides to not be, like on the screen at least, it looks like Hank decides to not be racist. He's just like, okay, racism has ended. I am going to sleep with a black woman and that is going to show that I'm a good person now. And it never has any kind of like confrontation between him and his dad. Like there's a moment where it almost happens because I think the scene where Leticia comes in and Buck is an absolute piece of shit to her, I think that could have built to some kind of confrontation between Hank and Buck. Yeah. Instead, it turns into I'm dropping off the furniture on the curb and never talking to him or having any kind of dialogue between that. So there's no lesson for Buck other than, I guess, figure out how to feed yourself now, daddy-o. Because you think you had problems going to the bathroom before. Wait till no one gives a shit about you in this building. So that doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. And then the thing that I thought was going to be a fun little twist on the relationship dynamic where he killed Leticia's husband, that doesn't go anywhere. No. This is just a bunch of like, man, this is a cool concept for a relationship that we're going to explore in a movie halfway at best. And then we're turning around and doing something else.
Sex. That's what they wanted. More sex.
Yeah. More sex.
It was a strangely horny drama. Yeah. Like there was the weird scene with the prostitute where Sonny goes first and then Hank has her later, but doesn't once Sonny is mentioned. Well, even but then does Hank know that Sonny went to the same prostitute? Because then he was thinking about his son with this woman, but then he couldn't. I don't know.
Well, I think it's because she reminded him of his recently dead son. Yes. was probably it. Yeah. But also, you'd think if you have a father and a son both going to the same prostitute, that would have some kind of meaning. But no. Also, now this is a free tip for anyone out there who feels like getting into prostitution. Don't mention someone's son to them when they're trying to have sex with you. Yeah. That might dampen the moment. Even if that person is still alive, I feel like that's not...
Yeah, that's not the frame of mind they want to be in right then and there. So, yeah.
Hey, you know how you're about to have sex with me, a sex worker? How's your family doing? I don't know if that's a good sale. But at the same time, she already had the money.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a good move. I don't know. But yeah, like that, even that, it just didn't go anywhere. It was just like a very quick sex scene. Like a very quick sex scene.
Oh yeah, Sonny's was extremely quick.
Yeah, like they did Sonny pretty bad with how quick that sex scene was.
Yeah. But what would they do? Just like have us watch it for like... What, 5 to 10 minutes?
I have some kind of cut in the middle, so there's at least some deniability about how long it was.
Like, yeah, we don't need to see him. I don't know. Anyways, we don't need to get into the semantics of this oddly quick sex scene, especially when Hank's sex scene with Leticia is so drawn out. Yeah. Like every frame is just held on for as long as they possibly can.
Oh, and actually I got a fun fact about that because I'm going to let you know right now, the fun fact section of this one, bad. Desert. So I'm going to sprinkle this one in there.
Okay.
The original sex scene that they had written in was shorter. This was a lot of improvisation between those two, and there was no one on set to manage it because normally you have someone actually managing the sex scene so that like, someone can like figure out how it plays to the camera and whatnot. This was just Halle Berry and the guy from Sling Blade going at it.
Really?
No help. Just them feeling it out and feeling each other out.
Did they have a camera operator at least?
Probably.
The
camera was moving. I'm assuming so.
Billy Bob has done directing, as we know from Sling Blade, so he probably had... So, he probably had some kind of like...
Yeah, that was just a
feel of it. But yeah.
Yeah.
What did other people think?
Mixed.
Yeah?
Mixed.
Interesting.
I'm going to hit you right now. Rotten Tomatoes, the critics, 85.
Yeah.
Audiences, 67. bit of a drop off there. IMDb has this as a 7.1, and I want you to brace yourself for Metacritic.
Okay.
This has a Metacritic score of 69 and a user score of 3.9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I double checked that to make sure that decimal point was there.
Yeah.
Maybe they, for the user scores, go out of a 10 scale. It does.
It does.
Still, that's really low. That's a 3.9. That was red.
Oof. Yeah. No, that's bad.
Yeah. So the critics seem to like it more than audiences.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah. This had a box office of 43.8 million. So not a terrible pull. And was on a budget of 4 million. So another small budget. Yeah. Actors taking some pay cuts to get this done. And it has a decent return. Yeah. Finished number 76 at the box office last year.
Better than in the bedroom.
That's true.
And this spent more time like in the bedroom.
Hey. So. Well, actually, it was a couch.
True.
In the living room.
True.
Well, Kyle, that's going to bring us right to our scoring time. And I have struggled with this one. So we're going to start with you and your enjoyment.
Okay. I gave this a 2.5. I think this gave me about as average an enjoyment as you can get out of me. I had some ups, I had some downs, I had some checking my phone, I had some playing with my cats. I had some, all over the place. So it was, pretty down the middle.
Yeah, in a movie this sexy, starting off by saying playing with my could have gone a bunch of different directions. I'm glad we ended with cat. Yep. I'm going to put a 2 for this. I didn't really have that much fun with it. What do you think for Craft?
I'm going to give this a 3.5. I actually think it was very well made in terms of its filmmaking. And like you said, the score is actually pretty good. I think it did a lot in terms of its shot selection and how long they lingered on some of the actors to really give them time to get a performance, especially when this is about like grief and everything. However, there was a lot of really horny shots. So 3.5.
Yeah, I'm also going to give it 3.5. I think there were some elements that were really good, and I think I am going to remember some of the cinematography that went into this. I found the score was like not widely used. It wasn't throughout a whole lot of it. Like it was impactful at parts, but also just like oddly vacant when it could have been there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to agree with that on 3.5. What is your execution?
I'm going to also give this a 3.5. I think I was higher on it a little bit before, but now looking back in it in scope, if I'm accounting about the writing into it, like Halle Berry is putting in a lot of work for what she was given. And like, while she is given a lot of good dialogue at times, like sometimes she is really putting her all into some weird character choices. And Billy Bob is fine.
He's fine. Yeah.
He was just kind of okay. He kind of felt like he was just there. And it also kind of felt like Halle Berry was just acting circles around him half the time.
It was clinic.
Yeah, and like that was just on the character choices in the sense too, because Leticia is a more animated person. Yeah. And Hank is just kind of like stoic. Yeah. And that's kind of hard to get a lot of range to. So yeah, I give it 3.5.
I am also going to go 3.5. I feel like, Halle Berry did a lot with what she was given, probably even overcoming the dialogue she was given. It's weird they never gave Hank a moment to actually have some kind of emotion when easily that could have been a climax to his character, is like showing any amount of emotion or any kind of change in his very monotone stoic voice. So I think some of them worked really hard and they didn't have a lot. I will say I was kind of impressed with Diddy's performance too. Yeah, it's a small bit, but I think he did it really well.
And also the child actor was all right too. Yeah,
perfectly fine.
I also learned, unfortunately, he passed away quite young. He was like just in his 30s. But
that's really sad.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle, what's your rewatchability?
Give this a 1.5. I don't think it's like so bad that I would never put it on again. Or I mean, it's not even that bad. It's just like I couldn't imagine putting this on intentionally. I think I would just have to stumble into it. And even if it was just on, I might not pay attention that much. But yeah, it's okay. It's 1.5.
I'm going to give this a 1 because I gave In the Bedroom a 1 and I would rather watch that one again.
Really?
So I don't want to go higher.
That's fine. I would rather watch this one than In the Bedroom.
Well, Kyle, your score has come to an 11 out of 20 for 55%. Mine has come to a 10 out of 20 for a 50%. Bringing us to a ranking, Kyle, currently you have Donnie Darko, Memento, Royal Tenenbaum, Shrek, Ocean's 11, Harry Potter, Spy Kids, Gosford Park, In the Bedroom, and Ghost World. Where does Monsters Ball lay.
This is kind of in this area where I feel like a lot of the movies in this sort of spot on my rankings right now are very close.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting it at my new number 8 under Spy Kids over Gosford Park. But that block of Monsters Ball, Gosford Park, and In the Bedroom, I think is kind of interchangeable. Like they're all about the same in terms of my feelings on them.
Yep, I feel you there. I am going to go a bit lower than you are. I'm torn. I think this is going to be my new number 11. I have a particular disdain for movies that attempt to tackle important social issues. This one really tries to get into racism, and it doesn't do a good job because you're going to have a black woman in this movie about racism just be a foil for some white guy to suddenly not be racist because they slept together.
Yeah.
I think it did an injustice to the message it was maybe trying to get across. And also, I didn't like it. So it's going to be number 11 for me for those two reasons. So now that that is over with, we are going to slide ourselves into some Letterboxd reviews. This has a 3.2 out of 5 on Letterboxd. And considering that all movies are between 3.2 and 3.8, that's pretty low for Letterboxd. This also only has 2 reviews that were worth recording. First one, Wood, 3 stars. Billy Bob Thornton solves racism by aggressively banging the devil out of Halle Berry while everyone around them dies horrific deaths. What an upbeat treat.
Oh, man. That sums it up nicely, yo.
Yep, that really is my main issue with this movie. He doesn't have any realization. He just has sex. God damn it. It's not the same. All right, and the second one is Sam Meltzer, 3 stars. Guys, I feel really bad for Halle Berry. Back in 2001, she had a terrible back injury and a terrible shoulder injury after carrying this entire movie.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah.
It was all on her.
Totally.
If they had someone in here give a bad performance as Leticia, this is a completely forgettable, entirely skippable, hot mess of Billy Bob Thornton. On to award details. Cal, I think you know what's going on here. This was nominated for 2 Academy Awards. What do you think / probably already know they are?
Well, I know it was nominated for Best Actress for Halle Berry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually know the second one, though. Original Screenplay, maybe?
Motherfucker, it was Best Original Screenplay.
Yes.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, no, that's
that was
weird.
like one of the biggest weaknesses of this movie.
Yeah, I'm saying yes, nice, and that I guessed it, not in that.
You pulled that out of
to
the realm of things that should never have happened. This just came from like Bizarro world. You pulled what this was nominated for.
We're only 11 movies deep, and so far both screenplay categories have been like,
we've been, what happened there?
Yeah.
So there's going to be some big upheavals at the end of that wrap up if we can find enough that are worth nominating. This won for Best Actress for Halle Berry. This did not win for Best Original Screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
They may not have noticed that it was nominated for that, and I wouldn't have blamed them.
I don't know if you have that fact, though, but she was the first and only African-American woman to win Best Actress. Other African-American women have won Best Supporting Actress, but she's the only one to hold that title so far, which in the world of actresses right now, like there's so many that I feel like should have some.
Oh, entirely so.
Like Viola Davis is going to get a Best Actress someday.
Yeah.
Like guaranteed. She's already got Supporting Actress one. So like, I feel like she'll get it there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In terms of other notable awards, Halle Berry got quite a few. She got...
Makes sense.
This also won the Satellite Award for Best Original Screenplay. So this was across the board. A couple oopsies happened by letting this get in there. It didn't get a lot else. I think Billy Bob Thornton got like a couple really small nominations. The main thing was Halle Berry acted her brains out.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it. Interesting facts time. Are you ready?
Oh, yes.
These were all terrible. They all sucked. I didn't put any down. I did write Vanessa Williams was almost Leticia.
Who's that?
And then she wasn't. Literally, all of the fun, interesting trivia on IMDb was like, this C-list actor was almost in the movie, but then a better person was. And it doesn't matter. Someone else was supposed to be Sunny, and they had like 1/1000th the star power of
Heath Ledger.
Yeah, of Heath Ledger. So I don't even know why that was a fun fact. You know what the number 1 fun fact was, Kyle?
What?
The director went to go see what an electric chair looked like for this movie.
I would hope so.
Yeah, that seems like a basic fact-finding thing. Why? How is that the funnest fact? The wildest trivia.
Director looks at electric chair.
Yeah.
Says, yep, that is in fact an electric chair.
Yeah, I'll take one of those for the movie I'm making about this. God, that was what we were working with for fun facts. I went through pages. Yikes. All of them worse than the one before it.
I can give you a not so fun fact. Don't watch the early 2000s interviews that Halle Berry had to suffer through for this movie. I swear everyone I clicked on, granted a lot of them were when she was doing promo for X-Men with Hugh Jackman and stuff. But like every old white male interviewer
just
was
salivating.
So gross.
Yeah.
Like they were just so gross. I mean, like I understand saying that she's a beautiful woman, but then there's also like weird passes. I don't know. It was just gross.
Yep.
And wouldn't stand today for sure.
No, it's just like that weird over-sexualization while she's there to promote the work that she does.
Yeah.
And these guys are just drooling over her.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there was not much for Letterboxd reviews, although there was a lot of serious comments, which is why there weren't any good, like, silly, funny ones to grab, because a lot of people were giving like actual analysis of the movie, whether they liked it or not.
What's that like?
I don't know. Stop it. We want ha-has. We want jokes. Put all your energy into writing something you think is funny so we can get some good zingers here. We don't want thoughtful analysis of how race plays into this movie. Say something funny about Billy Bob Thornton. Easy punching ground. Did you see Sling Blade? So this one might be a quicker one. Yeah. I don't know.
This episode is almost as quick as Heath Ledger's sex scene.
I don't have anything else to say on this movie.
Let's not milk it any longer. Let's just cut it.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, well, I want to thank you guys for listening to Season 3, Episode 11 of Snubs and Dubs. As always, you can find us everywhere on social media at Snubs and Dubs. That's on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Letterboxd, etc. We're also on Good Pod, so make sure to check us out there and join our official Discord. We'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on Monsters Ball or on this episode, so please send us a tweet or a message with a question, recommendation, or anything else. I'm also at CloudTobias on Twitter, and Jason's at Winnie_Mills. Of course, all of those links will be in the show notes. Make sure to leave a 5-star review, share the show to everyone you know, and check back next week for another episode. Here's a sneak peek of the film we're going to talk about.
Why do you open the curtains? It was Victor.
You told your brother that there was someone else in the room.
There was.
That'll do, Anne.
I've seen them too. Sooner or later, she'll see them. Then everything will be different.
That's right. And next time we're talking about The Others, so make sure to watch it before next episode. This will come out right on Halloween, so it's going to be perfect timing for a spooky episode. Can't wait for you guys to hear it. Thanks for listening. That's a wrap. Bye.
Bye for now.